Howdy gang, and welcome back to Pool School. In today's episode, I'm going to answer a question that one of my subscribers had about why her pool pump overflows with water when she's opened the pump lid to empty the pump basket. Why it happens and how to solve it. So, why do you say we get started? Okay, before we dive right into this episode, I want to remind you to like this video if you do, subscribe to this channel if you have not done so, and please share this channel with everyone you know who owns a pool and who's looking to save a buck maintaining their own pool themselves. Okay, so I had a subscriber email me and tell me that she had a problem with every time she opened her pump lid to empty the pump basket, water flowed into that pump from the pool and overflowed out onto the ground around the pump. All right, so there's really only one reason that happens, and there's really only one solution, but I wanted to address that. So again, we're not talking about the usual thing that happens when you open the pump lid on your pool pump. The water actually empties back into the pool, or it flows out of usually the suction side back into the pool. So we're not talking about that. We're talking about when your pool actually, the water flows, when you open the pump lid, the water flows into the pump and overflows out of the pump, out of the open lid area. And then it makes it difficult to put that pump lid back on. So we're going to talk about that. So here's the deal. There's really only one reason that this happens, and that is because your pool, all right, sits above the level of your pool equipment. That means that your pool and the water in that pool is on a higher elevation than your pool equipment. So your pool stuff is here and the water's up here, and then your pool equipment sits at a lower elevation. So gravity, the water flows out of the pool into down with gravity, like rivers run from mountains down to the ocean, okay? So, or lake. So when you've got a pool issue where that's happening, that's why it's happening. Now, you can't really use a check valve to stop that from happening, because check valves are one-way valves, and I'm going to do a video on that very soon. So watch for that probably next week, okay? But so really, it's really kind of a pain. But that's why it happens, all right? Sometimes people will have a spa that sits above the pool and the same issue happens. But the cool thing about that is you can use a check valve to, you can use a check valve to take care of that. And usually most pools with spas that sit above the level of the pool should be equipped with a check valve. Again, more on check valves in another video. So let's go back and find out what we can do to stop that from happening. So when you open your pump lid to empty that pump basket, you don't have water flowing back out of it into your yard and everything and making it difficult to put the lid on. So let's go check it out. Okay, so unfortunately, I do not have any pool clients who have pump equipment or their pool equipment sitting below the level of their pool. They're all pretty on level ground, so I don't have that issue. However, I can still use this to show you what you need to do, okay? So this is the suction side of your pool, all right? And I know this because of this is a pool that I service. This side right here sucks from the skimmer. This side right here sucks from the vacuum dedicated line, okay? And it goes into the pump here, flows up into the filter, through the filter, out the filter, and then back into the pool or to backwash, okay? So this is the valve that you're going to need to adjust, all right? If your pool is not equipped with something like this on the suction side of your pump, unfortunately, you're a little bit out of luck. So you have to have a valve like this, or some type of valve, like maybe a toggle valve, maybe even something like this, or the T valves that are like this, that like have a T, that if it's perpendicular, it shuts it off. If it's parallel or in line with it, it's on. But most systems have something like this. This is a Jandy valve, and I want you to pay particular attention to a couple things. Number one, notice that little notch right there. See that little part right there? That, and then also this one right here. Okay, see that right there? Those are stoppers. That stops the valve from turning anymore. So right now, that says off. I have the suction completely off to the skimmer, because remember, I know that that's the skimmer. If I turn it the other way, it stops at fully shutting off the vacuum side. Now, you're saying, okay, so how do I do this to shut this? Because if you have it at the skimmer, if you shut off the vacuum line and the water's above the level of the pump, it's going to flow in through here. If you shut it the other way, it's going to flow through here when you open this up. So what do you do? Okay, because it's stopping right there and you can't get any further. Okay, so here's a little trick. All these Jandy valves have a little nut on top. So you're going to unscrew this nut. All right, complete, and be careful because these are plastic, so they can break off. I'm unscrewing that nut, and then I'm going to lift this off. I'm going to remember which way it is. It usually only fits on one way because of the way this is designed. It'll only go back on the same way. But watch what I'm going to do. In order to bypass this, see this little tab right here? This tab is hitting that, and that's what's stopping it from going any further. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift this. Remember, I've taken this nut off. I'm going to lift this up just a little bit so it clears it, and then I'm going to twist it and continue moving it. Now I've gotten over that with that tab, and I can set it to off right here. All right. Now, the reason they have this here like this is to stop you from accidentally doing that and destroying your pump and motor and other equipment. Okay. So that's what I do. Then when I open my pump lid, there's no water. The water will stop here because this is off. This is now off. Does that make sense? So again, I had it slightly lifted so it clears this little notch right here. So that tab, so that little wing right there, that little piece, see it? That little tab right there clears this. All right. So I just lift it up enough. See, it stops there. I'm stuck. So I lift it up just a little bit so it's still engaged with the notches in there, and I move it. And I'm back in business. Okay. So again, one more time. This was where my valve was because I had it set to have more suction to the vacuum than the skimmer because that's pretty common. This nut was on here. If this nut is really tight, by the way, it can be hard to turn this. So if you have trouble turning this, try loosening that nut. All right. But then again, it doesn't matter which side I turn it to. I could have gone the other way, but I'm just going this side because it's closer. So I'm going to unscrew this nut. Just reiterating it for you. I'm going to raise this up a little bit so it clears that notch right there. All right. Raise it up, and you'll know, you just raise it up a little bit, about halfway up. Turn it. You don't have to force it. And then when it gets to the off, that's the off side, not this. This is not the off side. That's the off side. It's now shut off all the flow to the pump. Now you can open this lid, and you're not going to have water rushing in from the pool. All right. Now, big critical reminder and warning. Once you're done doing that, once you put the lid back on, you must put that back in place. If you leave it like that, you're going to destroy your pump, your motor, and everything else in your equipment if it runs too long like that. So make sure you reset it. So same thing. Lift it up slightly. You didn't have to put the nut back on when you put it to here, just to change your, just to empty the basket. Rotate it back to where you had it. Okay. It's probably a good idea to make note where you had it. Maybe use a little magic marker so that you know. And then screw your top nut back on, and you're good to go. And that's how you do it. Now, there are rare occasions, but I've not seen it happen very much because, again, most of the return sides of a pool system that has the equipment below the level of the pool, the return side has the flow going back to the pool this way, right? It's going away from the pump or the motor and the filter and back to the pool. Well, most pool builders, if they did their job right, if the pool sits higher than the actual equipment, meaning the equipment's lower, right? Then they have a one-way check valve on all the return pipes so that the water can flow back to the pool. But when the equipment shuts off, that one-way valve closes, not stopping any water from flowing backwards through the pipes, okay? If your system is not equipped with that, I would highly recommend you getting somebody out there to equip your return sides with check valves, all right? But it's only if your pool equipment sits below the level of your pool and pool water, okay? So the big issue is the water usually runs out from there, and I've already showed you how to deal with that. Alrighty, gang, so that is my video, and for my subscriber, I hope that answered your questions. The only other suggestion I have is if you don't have a valve like that, you're going to have to figure out some way to get to your pool itself and plug the skimmer hole, the skimmer suction hole, and maybe the dedicated vacuum line hole. And sometimes you can use like a piece of fabric which can slow the water down. Just make sure that it doesn't get sucked into those pipes, because that can make a real mess of things, because then you're going to clog your pipes. I would not recommend doing it. If you don't have the ability to use a Jandy valve like I showed you to stop the suction side, then I probably would just deal with the water rushing out, and you're just going to have to deal with it. All right? Okay, gang. So that is my video on stopping water from overflowing out of your pump when you open the pump lid. Again, the only reason it really happens is that your pool water or your pool sits higher than your pool equipment. All right? Hope that made sense. If you have any questions or comments, remember you can post them in the comment section below this video, or you can email me directly, and my email address is going to come right across the bottom of this screen. It is kennypoolschool@gmail.com. Once again, kennypoolschool@gmail.com. I want to thank you again for watching. Remind you to like this video if you did, subscribe to this channel if you have not done so, and please share this channel with your friends. Until we meet again, remember, have fun with your pool, be safe with your pool, and always, always, always watch those kids and elderly people and pets around water. I'll see you next time.